Hi everybody, it's Red from Outer Red's Head. I hope you are well and happy. I am here with a little project for the quarantine crafters, and I thought that this would be a fun one. A vintage style, using vintage images, banner. And I've strung mine on lace, but you could use whatever you like. You could use different images if you like and different lettering, however you'd like to do that. But as always, I have included the images for these, the papers and all, free on my website, and I'll share that with you. This is my new crafting space. I've moved into my studio. Things are a little bit different, so I'm going to roll this and see if we can get closer to my workspace and not make you too dizzy here. And I don't want to have my head smack dab in the middle of what we're doing. So let's see how this goes. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. All right, if you go to my website, www.redshead.com, don't forget the Z in the middle, or you will end up in a different kind of website. In the blog section, I've included these downloads, these images that you can print out and use for this project. You could use them for another project if you'd like to, however you'd like to do that. I've got other images there too that you're welcome to use. So enjoy. Just please don't distribute or sell my images. That's all I ask. Okay, in order to do this one, you are going to need the following items. You are going to need to print one each of the letters, and you're going to print them at wallet size, which is 2.5 by 3.5. I'm going to include the measurements in the information box so that you don't have to try to remember it or write it down. You're going to cut out 4 pieces of cardstock, 4.2 by 3.3. You are going to print 3 sunflowers at 4 by 6, and you're going to cut them on the border. You are going to print 4 gingham pieces, and I printed them at full page, but what you're going to need is 8 by 5.25 cut out. And then you are going to need 7 pieces of cardstock. I'm using the black cardstock, and I have cut them at the same size, 8 by 5.25. And then I made a template out of a piece of white paper the same size, and I folded it in half lengthwise, and then just snipped up a little bit to an angle to make my pennant shape. And then I traced that on the bottom of my paper and cut them out. So it's real easy, and then you only have to fold the one piece. Okay, in order to do this, you're going to need to take 3 of the black cardstock and your cut out sunflowers, and you're going to want to adhere them onto your cardstock. If you would like, you can add ink, which is what I did with mine. I inked mine just to age it, but you don't have to. I won't age this one just for time's sake. And I've got a glue stick that I'm using, but you can use any kind of glue. As always, use what you've got. If you have a magazine, you could cut out some really cool stuff for magazines. It doesn't have to be the same 3 sunflowers. It could be, anything you like. Now, in order to shorten this video and keep you from crying because you're so bored, I am going to fast forward through all of this. But to give you a basic idea, center your first one, and remember you're going to need holes at the top to string it. So get it centered about where you want it, and then you can use that as a guide for lining up your other sunflowers. We've got these done. Now we're going to use our remaining pennants, and we're going to use our gingham, and we're going to attach the gingham to each of the pennants, and then we'll trim the gingham afterwards. Blah, blah, blah. So put the glue on my pennant. Try to get a good cover here. And the nice thing about the black cardstock is I can usually see where my glue is. And that. Try to get it as straight as I can. And then I'm going to trim off the excess. And this doesn't have to be perfect. Just do the best you can and don't worry too much. I think a lot of us tend to be really hung up on perfection, and it can take the fun out of a craft. Now you've got your letters that are printed out, and you probably noticed when you cut along the edges that your O is slightly bigger than the other letters. I printed these from an antique book, and that's the way they were, and I didn't play around with it to try to get the sizing perfect because it's cute as it is, and it's really not all that important. You have your squares that you cut at 4.2 by 3.3 so that they are slightly bigger than the letters, just to give you a cute little border here. And all I did was line them up, center them as best as I could, and line them up and glue them on. Gingham pieces. Hopefully the glue is dry enough that we can trim it. We'll bring in our scissors. And get as close as we can to the edge here. We just need to get our letters lined up. And remember, we're going to want to punch a hole. So we're going to need to have it down enough that our hole doesn't end up being obstructed or making it look odd. Now, I used lace to hang mine. You could use lace or string or ribbon or a strip of fabric that you just tear down to the width that you need for your string. However you'd like to do that, and a hole punch. And you're going to want to punch a hole about a 1/2 inch in and maybe 3/4 of an inch down. And once you get that on both sides, you can just use it as a template. And you only have to measure it once or eyeball it once if you want to eyeball it. Sorry, my hole punch was across the room. I had to go get it. So I like to choose one to start with. Get them all lined up here. And then just kind of guess where I'm going to want the hole. So let's say right about here. And we'll eyeball it again on this side. Right about. I'm terrible at lining things up twice. I should measure, but I'm not going to, just for expediency. And we'll just use it as a template now. And there you have it. You can arrange it any way you'd like to arrange it on your ribbon and give it space in between. Or you can move it close together if you want it to be shorter. And then if you'd like, you could take a piece of tape and put it along the back just to hold the ribbons in place. If you wanted to, you could add a piece of tape. To keep it from moving. And that's it. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this craft, and I hope you get to work on it with your family. Stay home, stay safe, be well, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Thanks so much. Bye.